This is so surreal, it feels like I'm living a fantasy I've had 1,000,001 times, and I don't even know if I want it anymore. This is a long story that no one will read, and I don't blame you, but typing it out might help me understand how I'm feeling here. We got married young at 19 and 22, mostly because I got pregnant. I carried for 8 months, just to lose our baby in the end due to complications, but he was there for me. He cared for me, and it felt like we fell in love after we got married. Things were good, he wasn't controlling and he believed in me. He motivated me to do more and more, go to school, get a degree, become a nurse, all that. He even paid for a good chunk of it himself, like most of it when he wasn't even making good money yet. The bedroom took some time to really figure out, but once it was mastered, it was mastered. He never tried to get me to have a kid again either. He was perfect, and he grew into being perfect, which just made me love him more. We had something that felt so loving and special, and like wow, I really just stumbled my way into this from a casual fling to an amazing life and husband, and it stayed that good for a long time. Then I hit 30, and things started to change. It was little things, little comments he'd make about how young we were when we met, how we went straight into making the marriage work, and school and apprenticeships. How we never really got to be young, even though I think 30 is pretty damn young. He started to go out with his friends more, but not like before. Before, they would come over and play video games or barbecue or something and chill out, but then he started going out, like really going out, and he just started having more fun without me, I guess. And then it got worse. He sat me down and brought up the topic of an open marriage, more freedom for exploration and everything he couldn't do before me basically. I said no, and he said he wasn't sure he wanted to continue with what we had, and it all crumbled from there. He just decided he didn't want to be married anymore, and to be clear, he's the one that divorced me. He didn't cheat on me, but it was motivated by the fact that, in his own words, he wanted to. I felt blindsided and horrible, and regrettably, I begged for him to stay. I even said I would do the open marriage after all, which he declined. He said it wouldn't be real if I didn't truly want it, and thank God he did that because it's true. He was a good person through the entire thing. I can't explain it much more than he just was. He gave me our house that I paid a fraction for because he wanted to make it up to me for wasting my youth. He even offered alimony, which I should have taken him up on, but I didn't because I felt bad and I didn't actually need it, but the point is, he divorced me, blamed me for nothing, and was kind. I couldn't even hate him. He wanted to stay friends, but I didn't because I was still in love with him, so we landed on staying friendly. No blocking, still following each other on social media, no bad words to either side of the family, but we don't talk, except for the twice-yearly Happy Thanksgiving and Merry Christmas texts. The divorce was final in January of 2019, and I thought that was that. I didn't date throughout 2019, and in 2020, I couldn't because of COVID. The same goes for 2021, just focusing on not getting despawned, but I did meet someone in 2022, and we've been dating for almost 2 years in February. It was nice and easy, he's divorced too, and neither of us wants to get married again, and it just works. We were even talking about moving in together eventually, and then my ex calls, from his mom's phone no less. I had stayed close to her, not super close, but like a phone call twice a month and sending actual gifts for the holidays. So, I picked up with the usual, "Hi Judy, how are you?" and it was him on the other end. We hadn't talked in nearly 5 years, and then bam, there you go, my ex-husband suddenly is desperate to see me. He said that we really needed to talk and asked if he could come by. He could even bring his mom if I was uncomfortable with just him, and I said yes, but to bring his mom. Now, at this point, I thought one of them was passing away. I mostly thought it was him and that he wanted to make amends or something because nothing else would explain the suddenness. He came over to the house with his mom as promised, but he looked fine. They both did, which made me so much more confused. However, I let them in and waited for him to say something. It was the most awkward 45 seconds of my life. It broke when his mom elbowed him and said, "I'm not doing this for another year. Tell her, and I'll be in the other room." Which, am I crazy, or does that make it sound like he's passing away or something again? So, she left for the kitchen, leaving us in the hall, and he started word vomiting. I don't know what else to call it. I'll type out what he said coherently, but I want to make it clear it did not come out this clean. Being young and dumb didn't matter when I wasn't with him. He thought he'd be happy to have full freedom to do whatever he wanted, and he was for a while. He traveled, met new people, dated, but it always felt wrong. He knew he regretted the divorce years ago, but didn't want to bother me after he broke everything apart for nothing apparently. He said his friends were in his ear, always talking about marriage and how it slowed them down, and he listened despite the fact that I never tried to stop him from doing what he wanted. He still loved me and wanted me back. Apparently, he never really stopped. He would talk about it, year after year after year to his family, and when his mom told him what I had told her about the idea of moving in with a boyfriend, it triggered the hell out of him. That's how he ended up on my doorstep. I felt like I was in a damn movie, except the music didn't swell, and I didn't have the magical moment of, the love of my life and I are getting back together. It all worked out. I just felt confused and angry. I told him that this was all too much to drop on me out of nowhere and to leave, but I call him. So now I'm here, still confused and angry, but I have to figure out how to tell my boyfriend about this. But what the hell, man? If you loved me so damn much, why did you leave? Why were you so insistent that you had to be with other people? You know I'm seeing someone now, you could have tried this for the years I was single, so why now? I feel so suspicious and weird, and I don't know if I believe him, but at the same time I still have never loved someone the way I loved him. Is it that insane to think that what we had mattered to him, or is that delusional? Did he just have a midlife crisis and regrets what he did? I don't know, I just don't. Update 1. Well, the height of the dramatics is over. I think it went as well as it could have, but I told my boyfriend everything that happened. He wasn't happy, but he wasn't mad at me or anything. I think it helped that my ex's mom had been there, and we weren't just alone hanging out. We talked a lot, and no, we're not breaking up. Ultimately, I do love my boyfriend. Maybe it's not as intense as what I had with my ex-husband, but that took years to get to. It wasn't overnight either. I think it also helped that my boyfriend is divorced too, and when I asked what he would do in my shoes, he had a lot to say. We both agreed that I'm going to see and talk to the ex about it. He said that if it were him, he'd want to tell his ex face to face that it was over. So I texted my ex, and to be clear, I wasn't vague about what was going to happen with him. The direct text said, "Hey, obviously we need to talk about everything that happened the other day, but I want to be clear that we won't be getting back together no matter how the conversation goes. Knowing that, do you still want to see me?" And he did, so we set up a time and place in public, and again, my boyfriend is aware of all of this and is fine with it, but he did want to come with me. Not inside where we were meeting, but he drove me over and waited in the car. I know that could sound weird or bad, but I feel like it makes sense. He's being so calm and collected about this entire thing. I think he just wants to stay in the loop, so not a red flag to me. Anyway, I went, and we met up at a park and we talked. It was a lot, of course, there was a lot to unload. I'd always have love for him, but the window to that life closed years ago. He cried, apologized for crying, and it hurt a lot to see, and I felt so bad. I don't want to sound awful or like I don't take my relationship seriously, but for a second there, I just wanted to kiss him and tell him everything would be okay, but I didn't because that would be dumb as hell and it's time to move on. The talk was hard and I'm a little worried he's hanging on to some hope because it ended on a weird note. He asked if things would be different if I was single, which obviously it would be. I feel like he thought that question made some kind of point that I'm not seeing. I told him the truth, that yeah it would be different, and that my boyfriend was the top reason why I wasn't going to be exploring this, but I swear that made him perk up a little. I don't know, maybe he took it wrong, or maybe I'm reading into it wrong, but I don't think I have to worry about him pining away from me considering the circumstances of why we aren't together. I gave him a hug before leaving, and that was that. It's still over. Obviously, I told my boyfriend everything, even the weirdness at the end which he didn't love, but he was fine with me keeping him unblocked, though he did say he wanted to be told if he ever reached out again. He was so mature about the entire thing, and it was really eye-opening and made me appreciate what we have that much more. He's very different from my ex. He's more reserved and quiet, but sweet and he can still communicate. He just chooses his words and actions very carefully, and that stability is the kind of thing I need in my life right now. I'm still a little worried about my ex, though, considering everything I learned and how it ended, but I did my part. I'm not going to cut either him or his mom off yet because they really are good people. There is only so much I can write in a Reddit story, but I don't hate him for a reason, even though he emotionally messed me up. Especially his mom, she's a freaking angel. I think after this, she won't bring it up again. But if he starts popping up or something from her end, then I'll do the hard work to cut her off. That's about everything. It wasn't the big fairy tale ending I dreamed of, but the nice quiet life I made for myself is still intact.